Yes, sir. Okay. No, you're good. The science of self-management. Okay, I'm going to check who we have in here. I'm going to get started in just a little bit. Hi, Miss Chrissy. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good.
Fantastic. I love your sunny yellow shirt.
I want color too, yeah. It's nice to have like a light color for summer, not like a black or gray. I see Addison and her father on. I see the Coslers, Mr. and Mr. Cosler. Miss Aspen, how are you doing? Miss Aspen, I also have your water bottle here. You forgot it the other day, but I have it all safe. You're good. You're all good. I have it safe for you. All right. Out of that one, leave it muted. Yeah. Yeah, leave that screen muted. Will we have more people joining? Perfect. So Miss Davenport, I'll just have you change the slide when I ask. Yes, I will tell you when to do it. Oh, perfect. I have it on my phone, so I'm double smart. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I have it on my leg. All right, we're just making sure things are in order straight, and you're going to enjoy it. Let me see some of our faces too. Half the cameras are off. Ah, there we go. Mr. Miller, yeah, you can join me. Mr. Fudge is eating, so he's not joining us right now, which is all good. Is that Mr. Trujillo? Johnstown. Oh, they switched. Oh, they keep moving around. Yeah, that is Mr. Trujillo. Why did you run away?
We're just trying to get situated so we get the perfect shot of all of our students.
Yeah. I can't see the PowerPoint. I can't. I also have it on my phone, so I'm gonna read it like from my phone, and then tell you to move it about. We're waiting on Longmont, maybe a few other students. Johnstown has an army of yellow. I like it. Yeah. They did a little prepare for us. Got any good books that they read recently? Is that, oh, both of you have a book recommendation. Let's hear it from both.
For this one is kind of for people who Egyptian myth.
Ooh.
It's called Kane Chronicles. Lately I've been reading book 3, Serpent Shadow, I think that's what it's called. But yeah, it's a really good book. Yeah. What again?
What about other Mr. Costa?
Oh,
Oh, the book that I have been Edge of the Dark Sea of Darkness.
Whoa.
And by the-
Okay, we're still waiting on to join, which is all good. Mr. West, I see your hand up. You got a book? Mr. Olmsted just in front of the class.
I have been reading my.
Love to see it. Yeah. Do a little dance for me. Yeah. Do you watch the show too, Wes, or just read it?
Both. I've actually watched the
Both.
full series on Hulu, and then I'm
Yes.
right now reading it.
That's awesome. Still no sign of Longmont.
Oh, Mr. Thompson, Longmont won't be joining us. It was their early day.
Ah, I see. Okay, we're gonna get started. Awesome. Can everyone see the screen that Ms. Davenport has shared with us? Chapter 8, the self-management sequence. Awesome. Can we see that at Johnstown? Perfect. Okay. So there is a natural process by which success or failure in managing or controlling our lives takes place. The process consists of a sequence of steps. If we are aware of what the steps are, we can improve our chances and accelerate our advances. If we are not aware of it, or if we are not aware of what is causing our success or foiling it, we end up at the mercy of chance. Life is not a gaming table. We leave our lives up to chance. Chances are we'll fail. Okay. So in your own life, yes, this is what to say when you talk to yourself. I don't know if we have a copy right in front of us, but I've been reading this book since I was 5 years old. So it's in here. It's what to say when you're talking to yourself. Ethan and Jacob have a copy. Can you show us the cover super quick? Awesome. What to say when you talk to yourself. Yeah, this book is super amazing. I've read it a bunch for my martial arts experience. Can't sing its praises enough. Okay, so I want you to think of your own life. What are the processes that we reach success? Okay, I think the easiest one is the process to black belt. Along the way, we have these checkpoints of our white belt, our gold belt, all the way up to our brown belts, and eventually our conditional black belt. Okay, so when we're doing these achievements, we have to be specific with the process and the steps that we're taking. You don't just get your next gold belt because you show up every day. You have to show us that you know Chun-Ji, to show us that you know your combos. Does that make sense to everyone? Right? There's a process, there's steps to our success. All right. Ms. Davenport, can you go to the next slide for me super quick? Awesome. Okay. So one thing that controls our success and our failure is our behavior. Okay. And this is kind of the first step in a series of things that governs our process and what we do to achieve our goals. So our behavior, right? It directly controls our success or failures, and it directly correlates to our actions, right? So in class, in martial arts class, if we're behaving correctly, we're listening, we're paying attention, and we're using our bodies the way we're being asked to. That's our behavior, our actions, okay? So if, for example, in school, who here goes to school? We all go to school, okay? If we are behaving in a way where we're not doing our work in class, we're not turning in our homework outside of class, when we do tests and essays, we're not paying attention, do you think there's a good chance that We may have to go to summer school or retake that class. Say, yes, sir, right? Because our behavior, what we do, our actions directly cause the process to fumble or to be successful. On the flip side, if you show up every day and you do your homework, you listen every class, you try your hardest on your essays and assignments, you may get a few bad grades here and there, but overall you're going to be passing your classes and doing really well. All right, that's your behavior, taking actions in those classes. All right, so that's the first step. But what kind of impacts our behavior? Do we just behave, or do we have other things that are correlating and kind of causing that behavior? We do have other things causing that behavior. It's not just the behavior, it's not just the action. Next slide for me, Ms. Davenport. So often, the thing that causes our behavior is how we feel, okay? So if we're having a really hard day, let's say like traffic was really bad getting to school, the bus was filled, someone said something mean to us, and that very first class that we take, we're feeling sad, we're feeling angry, okay? Do our feelings affect how we behave? Yes, sir, right? Our feelings affect how we behave, okay? So, if we don't know our feelings, if we're not aware of our feelings, our behaviors and our actions can seem unknown to us almost. Like we're not sure what we're doing, right? Because we're not paying attention to our feelings, all right? But even then, feelings are determined by other factors as well, all right? What are some other factors that might determine how we feel on a given day? What are some factors that might determine how we feel on a given day? Let's see, I'm gonna ask Mr. Olmsted. He's getting up for me.
Yes, sir. Zach, go ahead and stand up. Super loud. What's your answer?
What experiences you had at the beginning of the day, or experiences you had the previous day?
Yeah, I really like that. The experience that you've had, right? What's added to your day? So let's say, like, we may have a really good morning, but it turns out we forgot our lunch that day. Is that going to change how we feel? Yeah, it's going to change how I feel. I want my food. Mr. Fudge is nodding his head too, okay? We want our food. We want those habits, that safe thing, okay? One, if we don't have our food, we're missing something important. We're hungry, and that's going to directly affect our feelings, right? I love that answer, Mr. Zach. All right, next slide for me, Ms. Davenport. So something that affects our feelings most of the time is our attitude. Everyone say attitude. And attitude. Okay, what do our red stripes that we give out in class say? Attitude, right? So obviously this is kind of important to us as a school and your life overall, right? Having a good attitude. So if, let's say, we've had a really bad experience in at a martial arts school before we came to Ripple Effect, right? Coming into a new martial arts school, we might have a bad attitude regarding how we might be treated, right? Or if we've had a bad experience with one of our friends, okay, and we might think, oh, that friend is going to treat me bad from here on out. That's an attitude that we have. All right. Does anyone have like an attitude for, let's say, like homework? Raise your hand if you've had a negative attitude for homework. I think everyone should raise their hands on that one. I saw Miss Chrissy raise her hand. Yeah. Did that negative attitude make the homework easier or harder to do? Harder to do, right? Sorry to cut you off, Miss Chrissy. So our attitude makes things easier or harder, right? If I show up to martial arts class with the attitude that, you know what, today I'm gonna get my new belt. Today I'm gonna try extra hard and I'm gonna have fun while doing it. Do you think that we're gonna have good feelings during that class? Yes, sir, right? Thumbs up. And furthermore, if we have good feelings about the class, about our instructor, about other students, are we gonna act in a really good way for that class? Yes, sir. So do you start to see how we go down and our actions actually kind of like the bottom, right? What we do is the bottom, and it's super important, the most important, but there's things that affect that action. Are we starting to see that? Let me see some thumbs up if we're starting to see that kind of chain reaction almost. Awesome. Okay. But where do our attitudes come from? Are we born with an attitude? I mean, some people are. Some people are born sassy, right? Mr. Thompson was born sassy. But a lot of our attitudes are actually formed by beliefs. Can you change to the next slide for me, Ms. Davenport? So what we believe affects everything else. We are what we believe. All right. Who has been taught a belief by someone that turned out to be not true later? Not true later. Who has a belief that turned out to be not true later on? It's a hard one to think about. Well, the one that comes to my mind is I think about how people used to think that the earth was flat, right? That once you reached the edge of the sea, you just fell off. Is that true? No. Okay. Who's been on an airplane before? Right? We don't fall off when we reach the edge of an ocean or anything like that. But that was a belief that was had for a really, really long time. So the attitude of other people that might have said, hey, the earth isn't flat, was pretty rude at the time, way back hundreds of years ago, because they believed so heavily in this one thing. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay. And that's when we start to see, like, you know, people treating others incorrectly and rudely because of things they can't control, right? Like, if some boy goes to your school and is like, I hate girls, he's going to treat girls badly in all of his interactions. And that's a belief that he's held that trickles down to his actions. And obviously we know, like, girls and boys are equal, right? But some people have those beliefs that they're not, all right? And that's going to end up affecting how we treat others. So our beliefs affect our attitude, affect our feelings, affect our actions. What do you think we get our beliefs from, though? This is kind of a callback to the rest of the chapters so far. It's the word that I've been hearing the most in the book chats. Does anyone know? Maybe it starts with a P. It starts with the P, R, O, Oh, I see a hand. Kostlers.
Programming.
Programming, exactly. Okay, next slide for me, Ms. Davenport. Perfect. So number 5, programming. So I really like the picture that Master Macy has put in here of, you know what those are called? Yeah, the Newton's cradle, right? It bounces back and forth, okay? So right now in this picture, our behavior is being pulled up and it's gonna knock all the way into our successes, all right? But we've learned through the last few chapters or last few slides that our behavior is not just in isolation. right? We don't just have an action. We have an action that comes from a feeling. We have a feeling that comes from our attitude. We have an attitude that comes from belief, and a belief that comes from programming. Who can remind me from a previous chapter what programming is? What's programming? What's programming? Mr. Thompson can sit here all day. I love the awkwardness. Oh, I see a hand in Johnstown.
All right, Zach, stand up. Let's hear what programming means.
Zach has 2 for 1.
It is training yourself training something to behave in a certain way.
Yeah, I like that one, right? Training to behave in a certain way. So a lot of the times, Mr. Zach, we have programming that we didn't even really know about. Does anyone have felt that way before? Right? That we've been taught something for so long that we're not even sure where it came from, right? Do you feel that way, Mr. Fudge? Yes. Do you feel that way, Mr. Miller? Right? So that's programming, okay? And a lot of the times that programming from when we're super young, from our family, our friends, our school, the country we grow up in, the city we grow up in, all of that affects our programming. And what does our programming affect again? Mr. Miller gave us a hint. What does our programming affect again? All right. Oh, Miss Aspen. Unmute yourself for me. What does our programming affect? Can you unmute yourself, Miss Aspen? There you go.
Our feelings and our actions and what we do.
Yes, ma'am. Exactly. Great job, Miss Aspen. So our programming affects everything else that we do, okay? It affects, like I said before, it affects our behavior, our feelings, our attitude, our beliefs, okay? And it all trickles from that original programming. All right? But, and then next slide for me is Wellness Davenport. And Miss Aspen, can you mute yourself again for me super quick? Beautiful, thank you, ma'am. Okay, so a lot of the times when we talk about programming, I feel like people think that they have less responsibility of their actions, right? That I can blame how I act on something that I didn't control. Does everyone understand what I'm saying with that? Right? Okay. That giving the responsibility of my actions, my feelings, my behaviors, my attitudes, etc., to programming takes the responsibility from me. Okay? But in reality, knowing our programming, knowing all of those other steps allows us to take the responsibility. Does that make sense? Do we get the difference between the two of those? Right? We're not blaming our programming. All right? We're changing our programming. Okay? We're allowed to make these changes. We're allowed to do something new with our program. Is that going to be easy? No. Right? It's not going to be easy. It's going to require work every single day. All right? But that programming can also be beneficial to us in the future. So when I say attention, all of us, Mr. Miller just did it for us, all of us have an innate programming to give me an attention. Or when I ask you to do something for me, what's your programming say to do? When I give a command, what's your programming say to do? Yes, sir, no, sir, right? You're programmed to respond. And that's a good thing. And a lot of the times we can be programmed to be kind to each other. I feel like ripple effect martial artists, a lot more than other ones, are programmed to be kind, to be respectful, to be leaders in the community, okay? How long does that programming take though? Do you say yes, sir, every single time after your first class? No, right? Does it even take a month for that to set in? Depends on the person, right? It takes constant, consistent practice. I'm gonna say it again, constant and consistent practice, okay? You have to be responding every single time. You have to be there, you have to be listening all of our classes. And next slide, Ms. Davenport. Perfect, thank you, ma'am. All right, we've reached our last slide, okay? I'm gonna talk a little bit more about the programming and then give us our homework, okay? So, who can kind of go over the process from behavior to programming for me one more time? Who can go over the process from behavior to programming one more time for me? Mr. Zach, I see your hands up in Johnstown. He's been our champ. Let's give him an attitude stripe today.
Yes, sir. Zach, you're getting an attitude stripe after this. All right, go.
It is understanding what you need to change about your attitude and using consistent practice and able to program your body to automatically do those things.
Yes, sir, exactly. I love that answer, Mr. Zach. You're going to deserve that attitude stripe today, right? So we have a whole list of steps to understand our behaviors, right? Our behaviors come from feelings. Our feelings come from attitudes. Our attitudes come from beliefs. And our beliefs come from that program. If we notice all the steps and we learn all the steps in ourselves, we're able to change our behaviors for the better. Does that make sense to everyone? We see thumbs up if that makes sense. Okay? If we understand more about ourselves, all right, we do that introspection, we can change just about anything that we want. All right. So for our homework for this week, kids, I want you to create a picture that shows and illustrates how you see yourself starting with programming and working through the results that show how part of the chain reaction works. So similar to that Newton's cradle picture we had, the metal orb hitting the other ones and creating a chain reaction, I want you to create a picture as well. Does that make sense, kids? Okay, and you show me, Master Macy as well, whoever's gonna be in charge next week, how programming affects our beliefs, our attitudes, our feelings, our behaviors. Does that make sense? Yes, sir. Awesome. For our adults and our older teenagers, start with a negative belief that you have formed over the years. Work through how you will change your attitude, feelings, and determine and create positive results. Okay? So for instance, we could say, you know, this is kind of an example that I've been thinking about. I've been getting really angry when I'm driving around Fort Collins recently. Okay? That's something that I need to change. Okay? So I have to address the programming of why do I get upset while I'm driving? You know, is it because driving can be a dangerous act and I want to make sure things are going okay? Is it because I want control? Is it because of all these different things? But I have to find what programming causes me to react so angrily in the car. Not that I'm yelling, screaming, but I don't like being angry, okay? So I'm gonna trace my steps back to why being in the car during traffic makes me a little upset. Does that make sense? Okay, we're doing backtracking almost. We're trying to find the cause and the source of our behaviors. Okay. Awesome job listening to me talk for 30 minutes. You guys did amazing absorbing all that information. I could tell in your big brains with all of the amazing responses that we got. Okay. Are there any questions at all about this chapter of the book? Mr. Kostler, I see your hand. Give me an awesome question.
I can read that it says create a picture that shows / illustrates how you see yourself, starting with programming. And do we need to color that?
You can do whatever you want, sir. If you
Okay,
want
so
to make it colorful for me.
so we are able to. So it doesn't have to be perfect.
No, nothing has to be perfect.
Okay.
Any other questions? Awesome. All right, Johnstown, make sure Zach gets that attitude stripe for me. Miss Aspen, make sure to remember that I have your water bottle here, okay? Awesome. Okay, I think that'll be it for our book chat. Everyone have an awesome day. Make sure you start thinking about what's causing your behaviors in your class, in your day-to-day life. All right, get my orange belts on the floor for me. Perfect. All right, bye, Miss Chrissy. Bye, Johnstown.
Sure.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye, Jacob.